Freedom. I'm Aaron Jack. We're going to be on with Clémence Vazard, and in a moment, after we have Samia on, and maybe Ben, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Another day at Freedom. I'm Aaron Jack Line Art. So go add me too. Hey Samia.
Hello. Hi Aaron, how are you?
I'm good. So Damascus, no electricity, right?
Yes. It might come in any minute. I don't know when it's gonna come. But yeah, how are you? And how is everybody? Hi Brittany. Hi Clémence. Hi Ben. How are you all?
I'm well. It's Thanksgiving here, so whole like family thing, and
Yeah,
then I Ben says he likes the candle vibes. I'm right there with him. Like,
yeah.
must be something special.
Yes, I love candles a lot. And we light candles here in Syria, so most of the time. Yeah, so today we're gonna have a special guest, Clémence Vazard. She's from France, and she has like she empowers women's voices around the world, and that's great. She gives them freedom to speak through their art, and this is great. I really love that because actually it's one of my goals to do that one day. Yeah.
Cool. So there's no electricity. When did this happen? Give us a little update. What's happening in Syria right now?
Well, the economy is kind of breaking, or it is broken. I don't know. It's like it's like down because of the sanctions and war and all that, and because of Corona. There's no lockdown, though there's like a lot of cases around around Syria, a lot, so many deaths. But yeah, you know, yeah, it's because the economy is breaking. Anyway,
Cool.
I prefer,
All right. I just thought, I like my weekly update of Syria, like what's happening.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get Clémence on here.
Yeah, so I can like forget what's happening.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. Good luck.
Good.
I hope you have electricity again soon.
Yeah, I hope that too. Inshallah, soon.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right. Let's see. Let's see here. And we're live. How are you?
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. Doing well here. Where are you?
I'm in my studio currently. So yeah, I have electricity, but it's not really light. Maybe I can move that if it's better. Yeah. Well, let's try.
Yeah. It's it's evening there. So where is your studio?
It's in Paris, in the 20th arrondissement, in a neighborhood called Belleville. So I also like the name because there is Belle, so beautiful, and Ville, city. So it's like, but it's like a neighborhood. It's a very mixed population, very rich in matter of diversity. So yeah, I like it.
Cool. That sounds like a wonderful place. How is everything there at the current moment? Like what's the state of things in Paris? Yeah.
Yeah, so in France we are currently experiencing our second lockdown. So yeah, it's like I don't know. I mean, I've kind of lost the notion of time. I don't even know if we are in March, December, like Christmas is happening soon, but it's like, really? But how did it go this year, you know? So, but yeah, there is a lot of economical questions, health questions. Yeah, everything is, you know, under questions, I guess. There's a lot of questions and no answers, but yeah, in the end, that's also our role as artists, I guess, to question, you know, the world we live in. So I don't know what to say. Just like it's very ambiguous because it's in a certain way, it's in a very like unprecedented time, and then it's kind of interesting as a like as an opportunity to question our the world and the society we live in, of course, but also it's like very sad in a way because of all the lives that are lost and everything. And so I don't know, a lot of you know, ambiguous feelings. How do you feel that where you are?
Well, I try to take the positive for what I can, and I feel like it's kind of like we have to do what we can with what we've got. So I'm here and I'm talking with you, and I love it. So, you know, like I wouldn't, without this whole thing, I probably wouldn't be talking with you right now in front of all these amazing people down in the comments. So so I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. So today in America, it's like a day of thanks, I guess, and like gratitude. So I'm thankful for that, for you being here with me.
Well, thank you so much for your invitation as well. I'm very, very happy to be here.
Great. So so do you want to tell us, like, can you show us a little bit around your studio?
Yeah, I can. Of course.
Wonderful.
Yeah. As I say, there is not much light, but let's. So yeah, here is my desk as well, with some works on paper. So two different series. One which is honoring the women in the first Hollywood cinema industry. So with a lot of yeah, like the eyes, I put some gold leaf in the eyes. And then this series is about how the territory is influencing our identities. So it's really also a reaction to you know, how the urbanism can be very gendered, so that as women, but also as people with disabilities, we don't really, we are not really taken in this consideration when it's about to you know, to build cities. And here is like, so my big workshop table where I do a lot of stuff and experimentation. That's something I am now creating for my MA program, because I just enrolled in a MA at Central St. Martin's in London.
Oh wow! Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's a
Amazing.
big step for me, actually. I can speak about that a bit later after the studio tour, but that's some experimentation that I am doing for the MA, the master program. So here is yeah, one of my latest work. As you can see, it's a mirror foil, so that's kind of deforming, you know, very like, you know, deforming the reality we live in as well. and the words are written backward. So it's really questioning actually the reality we live in and the truth that is hidden behind the superficiality or the surface. So it's as if somebody behind the mirrors wrote those words, Is there somebody, through the looking glass as well? So,
maybe
yeah.
you could reverse the camera. See what happens when you reverse the camera there?
Yeah.
Like, and then look at it behind you. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Because we're all kind of through the looking glass here.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Isn't that interesting? Like now, I don't know.
It is. No, actually, that's actually very interesting because so when I first exhibited this work, it was in Mexico during a residency. And so I exhibited 5 works in a gallery space actually, and the scenography was that since I didn't have much time to produce more works, all my works were in one were exhibited on one wall, and on the other wall we just hanged up some real mirrors, so that you also have the reverse effect of the mirror. But then I saw people starting to take selfies with the art behind them, and then they told me, oh, when you do that, you can see actually like the words written in the right sense. So yeah, that was I mean, that's interesting to see how the audience can really be active and in the process. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Wow. So how have you found audiences to be interactive in your work through your work in the past, or have you explored that in different ways?
Yeah, I do think that it's a natural process regarding to my artistic approach, because I really want I do want my art to be participatory and to be engaging people, most like women mostly. And so because all the process, the creative process and every steps in my process are engaging audience or engaging people or questioning people or I am collecting a lot of stories and everything from other people, other women. So I think that in the end, also the perception, the reception of the audience is more participatory as well. Maybe people feel that they do belong to the art I suggest or I show them. I think so, actually. I think that's pretty natural. Sometimes it's something that I anticipated, and then I created this on purpose. I create this interactivity. But sometimes it's really something that I don't think about, or the audience could as well create some participative action that I didn't think about,
Oh, that's pretty cool. So what are some of these stories that you've collected? Would you like to share one or two of these stories?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so for example, for this work, this series, this project, it's my latest project. I created this this winter in Mexico. It's the result of a participatory project where I started to ask women, Mexican women, to send me a sentence starting by soy, which means I am in Spanish, and to send me this sentence that they must keep silent in order to be accepted in their everyday life, so by society or their families or their colleagues or friends, whatever. And then, of course, I received strong, powerful, and very moving statements, very diverse as well. And I really wanted to create a space of freedom of expression, and for also the dissemination of those women's voices statements. So I wrote them in lipstick on mirror paper, so as you saw, and I stretched the mirror paper on a frame, so as a canvas and and a frame as well, in fact. And so, yeah, the impact I wanted to create is also for the viewer to question the reality of the world we live in, as I said. So, for example, one of the statement I received in Mexico was one that I really like because it's very short, but it can mean a lot of things. Is soy la jefa, which means I am the boss. And so that was very interesting because it can be perceived as very pretentious, but because it's a woman that say that, it seems pretentious. But if it was a man, would it be perceived the same way? I think no, of course. So it was very interesting to see how the audience, for example, would perceive this kind of statement, like I am the boss. It's like, wow, okay. But actually the story of this was a woman who actually was doing all of the work and taking all the decisions in her workplace, but she wasn't valued as she deserved, actually. So she felt like she wanted to express that she was the boss. I mean, that she was in charge, that she was responsible, because she couldn't say it at work, because she had somebody she had a boss who didn't really, who wasn't that responsible for the work. But yeah, so that was something like very questioning as well, about how do you perceive women's voices and statements. But I also received some very moving statements about maternity or about relationships, about their relations to their parents as well. Also, how they didn't felt valued, heard in the workplace, or how they were terrified about public spaces, for example. So yeah, or just I'm afraid of being killed because of who I am, for example. What does that mean? So it's a lot of very strong statements.
Do you have some more examples of some statements?
Hmm?
Do you have some more examples of the exact statements that people say?
Yeah, I have here some. So because when I came back to from Mexico, I also had this opportunity to have a solo show in. I signed with a gallery in March this year in London. So it's the Boogie Wall Gallery, and the gallery invited me for a solo show this September. And because I really wanted to hear from women of England, because it was important to me to expose the voices of women from the same country, I launched a call for participation through Instagram to collect personal statements from women living in England. So I also have some in English. So one of them, the one that I showed you, for example, is saying, I am walking in the light of my purpose. So that's very poetic. There is another one which says, I am in my body. So also very mysterious in a way. And I am the creator of my own reality, which particularly links to, like, you know, the matter as well of my project about the reality and how the reality is created, actually, you know. And yeah, some would be like, I am powerful or I am strong as well. And also a lot of things about being grateful for, you know, just being here, just being alive, just being part of, you know, this. And yeah, it was also very interesting for me to see differences between what women of England wanted to express and what women from Mexico wanted to express. That was really interesting. To be more precise, maybe I think women from Mexico really want to express they're angry, you know. They are very angry, and they are, yeah, you could feel that they were very angry, and they really wanted to fight, and they really had to fight for their voice to be heard, you know, or even to be expressed. And yeah, women from England really wanted to, like, they expressed their feelings and their statements in a very more poetic way. So it was less about resisting something, but more about reclaiming a narrative from with their own words and their own way to, you know, express themselves. So yeah.
Wow. Have you done one in have you asked for ones in around where you are in Paris or in France?
Yeah.
Or in...
Yes, actually I do have one here, which is a commission. A woman, I mean, the story is very sweet. I was contacted by a man, and he told me that his wife really liked my work. She was a big fan of my work, especially this new series, and he wanted to give her one of my pieces as a present, you know. And when I answered him, I told him, you know what, because it's very like intimate statements, maybe she wants to express her own statement. So I invited her in my studio, and she decided of her sentence, and we choose together a color of lipstick. And it's almost done, actually. It's just waiting for the last layer now. So I may be, you know, maybe it's going to be finished next week, I guess. So, and the sentence is, I am, how do you say? It's kind of a list. It's, I am imperfect, rebel, and I don't know to say, to translate, indocile, like, I can check.
I think Laurence is in here. Maybe not. Yeah, I'm not sure who speaks French in here. Anyhow,
yeah, but yeah, it's like, yeah, it's very personal. Sometimes what's also really interesting is that it's very intimate, so you never know, actually, because they are anonymous. I don't tell their, you know, their name or whatever, but so you never know what they wanted to say behind this single sentence, but actually, as you know, as the audience, or as just somebody who reads the sentence and try to decipher the sentence, because it's written backwards, so you're like very focusing as well on the sentence, and that's really what I wanted to you know, as an impact to the audience. But yeah, there's a chance that you project your own story on those sentences and stories from other women, you know.
What's happening here?
So that project, it's actually a project that is very, very important for me in many, many ways, because it's my first sound and visual installation. It's my first ambitious project. Actually, it's the first time I really engaged women to speak. It's my first participatory project and interdisciplinary project as well. So it's really a project that afterwards guided my approach and practice. So I can tell you more about the story of this project, which is called Mon premier harcèlement. So that means my first harassment. And I started to work on the harassment women are the victims of in 2016. So if you remember, it was a pre-Me Too era, you know. So I was haunted by a revelation. Actually, I had been personally harassed 10 years ago, and no one told me how to address this. So I buried this story. And what led me to my art project was that 10 years after I finally started to tell this story to my friends, and they immediately believed me without any doubts, and they listened to me. And just because I finally had to tell this story at some point, I realized how we shared these kind of stories and how it was very common. And we had very similar stories, and all of them we call now under the name of harassment, was not really something we were talking about at that time. And actually I realized that every time I told these stories, dozens of stories came from women and girls I was talking with. Stories of ordinary sexism in the workplace or within the family, or sexual assaults. And it was both very intimate experiences, but they were common to all of us, and that the fact that sharing them was had an extraordinary healing power, you know. So I felt I had to transform all these stories into a powerful artwork. So without knowing what I would do with it, I started to collect testimonies. I put out a call for participation in my social networks and invited women to tell me their first memory of being harassed. And at that time, I managed to collect 12 testimonies and portraits from volunteers. But it took me more than a year to organize the meetings, interviews, photo shoots, and everything. And I was lucky enough to be invited in for a residency in a community center in Paris. But meanwhile, I received a lot of very skeptical feedbacks on the subject. So, so some people told me that harassment was not a topic, and that was not a serious subject that I can be dealing with through my art, and that it only affected a tiny part of the population. And I really had to believe in this project for it to be born. So, and and the first exhibition took place during the weekend of September 30th in 2017, and on the following Friday, so October 5, the Wenshin case was revealed, So suddenly all the media woke up, and I was widely contacted to give my vision on the event. And in view of the testimonies I had collected through my art project, like a journalist even asked me how I was aware of this new trend. So it was I don't know, overwhelming. But yeah, and 10 days after the Me Too movement was launched, and since then this exhibition was exhibited in different places in Paris, in London, in the south of France, and I received a grant from the city of Paris. And I really think that 4 years after its creation, it's more relevant than ever. So yeah, that's I don't know if you want me to talk more about this, because I can.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Do you feel like does it help you heal in some way creating the project, or do you find yourself like sometimes like going back into trauma? Like, do you feel like it's like creating the project, like at what point does it ever go from like I know, just like experiencing my own issues, like sometimes like going back into it deeply and creating about it heals maybe up to a certain point, but I don't know, but I'm just curious because you're also speaking from a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, this project was very powerful in terms of healing for me, but as well for all the women I engaged. And most of them were telling these stories for the first time, actually. And the other part was telling it in their own words for the first time, So because when you go to the police, you just answer questions and you tick the boxes, or you tick the boxes of the police form, the report form. So you don't have the space to actually share your stories in your own words and how you really experimented the event. And also I think that the fact that we were sharing things, because I organized one-to-one meeting, interviews, and actually I used I was inspired by a stance by a psychoanalyst, which is Alice Miller. She's German, and she wrote about the traumas from childhood, and she she kind of worked on a method or a stance where, as a listener, so it's called the enlightened witness, and it's really a way to make the person in front of you, to make him or her think that, or realize that you are here only for one purpose, to listen to her story, and that's your only mission, and so you don't interrupt the story, the narrative. You just help the narrative to go through and to go until the end of the traumatic memory, and it's like a catharsis, actually. And in the end, as I enlightened witness, you are holding one part of the weight of these stories, so you also relieve, in a way, the victim. And but that was also very, very healing for me as well, to just be sharing that and making those women proud of making something from this this memory, from this trauma, so and that was fantastic to me, to hear those women telling me when during the first exhibition, telling me that they were very proud to be here, to be part of this. And especially after the Me Too movement, some of them contacted me to say, oh my God, now I have the feeling that without knowing it, I participated in something so much like wider and powerful that I expected. Sorry. So yeah, that was my reward.
So what was your feeling as the kind of movement grew? Because you were speaking about this before and you said like the journalists were contacting you. Like how did you experience as it became like a much bigger issue in the world?
Well, from my perspective of a feminist artist, it helped a lot to make my art visible. I can't complain actually, because since then, yeah, it's like this special installation was solicited by a lot of institutions, and I really don't think that it would have been exhibited that much if Me Too didn't happen. But also I'm ambivalent about this because and that's also why I keep showing women's voices, because we are speaking a lot about the freedom of speech that Me Too created for women and everything, but if we are talking but nobody's hearing from us, nobody's listening from us, what's the point? What change is it making? Like, nothing's changing then. So yeah, we can, I mean, that's for sure that's a step for women to speak out. That's also another step for the society to listen carefully and also make the changes that has to be made.
What changes would you like to see in the world, given like you've been listening to a lot of people around the world? Like, are there any specific changes in any parts of the world that you would like to see?
Oh my God, do you have like the whole week? I have a
We'll see.
No, I mean, that's very utopian, but I would like my biggest wish would be that like all the species of this planet had the same rights. So here I'm speaking about men, women, but it's very binary as a conception. So like let's talk humans, animals, and plants, like just every species of this world to have the same rights. That's very utopian, but I think that's my biggest wish actually.
Could you be specific about your utopic vision?
Yeah, I used to say that I'm a feminist artist, but I'm also an eco-feminist artist, and I am also part of an eco-feminist art tank, which is evolving in the US, in San Francisco. And I'm part of this art tank where we try to organize events and also support the artists and researchers that fight for equality between human and nature. And I really do believe that in our patriarchal and capitalistic society, there is like, it's very this hierarchy in spaces, tells that, you know, at the highest step of the hierarchy, there is the, you know, the male, especially the white male, and then at the very like the down part of the hierarchy, there is, you know, like a plant, for example, a plant that you can't eat, let's say, you know, that is not useful then. And so, you know, in between there's a lot of living things. So yeah, I would, you know, I would love that we would be smart enough to consider all those living things to be valuable, as valuable than us, and that they can have, you know, that we can all have the same rights to live and to live in the, you know, the best conditions.
So what would be actions that maybe we could all take, or that society could implement to for your utopic vision? Like, what would be, what would say, like, if we went from like what's happened in the past to like living now in this utopic society, what would that feel like?
Yeah, tough question, because I think that's there's a lot to do actually. But I think that the first, yeah, it's gonna be very obvious, but it's not easy for some people. The first thing to do could be to listen, actually, as I said, like really listen, like being careful and interested in what story the other, like the other person wants to tell and has to share. And because, yeah, I think stories are really important to intimate stories are crucial to change the big history with a big H, because I think it's kind of understood today that the notion of the universality of history concerns the narrative of a male experience that led to the invisibility of women, but also other spaces, and that the actual content of this universalist history deserves a rewriting. I mean, we need to rewrite history, I think, and I'm not the only one to think that. But if we are missing, you know, a whole part, half part of the history, because we are missing women's stories, we need to feel, we need to yeah, to inspire, you know, we need to inspire, we need to make this history more, I mean, equal, but also more interesting, if I can say. Well, that's my yeah, that's only me. But if we want women to think that they are part of the history with a big H, we need to promote also their multiple stories of the multiple stories of women, in order to replace the history amongst the stories. And yeah, it's really the mission I gave to myself. I do believe in the power of intimate stories to change history. Yeah.
So just imagining for a moment that we live in a time after all of this change has happened, that after all of the fight is, you know, there's no more fight. What exists in the world, and how do we live? How do we all feel, from plants to animals, humans? What does that existence look like?
Wow, there's a lot of harmony and serenity, and you know how people are looking for a sense in their everyday life now. You know, I think we would have find it. You know, that's it. There won't be any search for sense in our lives because we will just leave the sense. You know.
Do you think that's do you think that's possible without a lot of training of the people? Like what do people need to learn to live in that sense?
Learn to listen. No, but really, I mean, I think that no, I don't think we must be trained a lot. I mean, it's just a change of perception. It's change of vision about life and how we must interact with nature, with each other. It's just a shift of prism. So yeah, I really think that if every people here on this planet learn to listen, but really listen, as I told, like listen carefully and with interest in the other stories, I think that yeah, that really can change everything. Really, I really do believe that. It's not, and I don't think it's utopian at all. I think it really can make a big change.
So you talked about this enlightened listener and like what that is through the perspective of the psychologist that you've been working with. How do you feel that? Do you feel like that is like a learned aspect in order to be that listener?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I was very inspired by this enlightened witness stance. Really, actually, it was something very natural for me to create. But yeah, I can understand that it's not really easy in this society to, you know, I mean, at some point when I was doing this project, it happened many times that I just sat, asked my only question, what's your first memory of being harassed? And then for 2 hours, I didn't say a word. Are you ready to do that in your, like, you know, in your everyday life? Like every day you just sat down in front of someone, ask one question and listen to the answer for 2 hours. It is just something that we are not used to and that nobody really taught us, you know. But I can really tell you that that's making the difference, and that you would really feel a deep empathy for the person in front of you, and that you will like just create this strong relationship, this strong dynamic between you and this person. And it's very unique. It's very rare and precious, actually. Like this project was very moving for me. And I also realized that at first I was, you know, I was organizing like 2 interviews in one day. And at the end of the day, I was like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. Like, okay, I can't do that anymore, you know? So I finally realized that I was not able to do more than once a day, and that was really like strong enough. That was really intense. But yeah, are we really ready to listen to one answer, to, you know, to one story for 2 hours? yeah, that's not something that we really do every day.
That sounds like an art project onto itself.
Sure, yeah.
How do you think that could expand beyond just you? Because you holding all of that trauma doesn't sound like a sustainable system onto itself. You listening to every single person in the world in their 2 hours. Do you feel like there's a maybe in this utopic society there would be a way for other people to do this or to replicate or to bring it into their own lives, this enlightened witness aspect?
Yeah, sure. I really do think that everybody can do that. I mean, for example, you decided today or tomorrow, let's say, you will just listen to one person for 2 hours. You can do it with your sister, mother, friend, colleague, just assuming that they have something important to tell and that you can be their enlightened witness, and that's also something powerful for you to feel as well, that you are offering something very unique, very rare, and that you are the only one to do that for them. That's something very powerful, very meaningful as well. So yeah, that's I think I would love for everybody to try this once in their life, and that would be something, I think, really.
To sit and to deeply listen and be curious about the other for an hour, 2 hours at a time, and
yeah, and
then,
don't interrupt the narrative with your own, I don't know, ideas or your own experience, or you're not here to share. You are not here to share your experience or your story. You are here to listen to the other stories, So, really at the beginning, it's not easy because for sure, somebody will tell you about, their experience of being harassed, for example, let's say. And then you will be like, oh yeah, that reminds me of something. But no, you have to just shut your mouth and listen, that's your only mission there. But we are so used to, interrupting, sharing, being in that dynamic of exchanging voices, and which is also very interesting. But that's not the point here. The point here is being a listener, being a listener, an enlightened witness. Yeah.
Now, how in this utopic, sorry, I'm just coming back to this utopic society. I like this idea here. What, how often would people practice this with each other? Because, you're talking about as society exists now, being that everybody's talking over each other and interrupting. I find personally it's even hard to not interrupt ourselves, let alone interrupt each other.
Exactly.
So I mean, just from my own life, it feels like it's a practice to listen and to listen deeply. So past this world of fighting and we exist because then the plants don't have a voice, and how do we, right? I mean, you were talking about that is like a piece of this like utopic society. How are we interacting? Like, what is this interaction? What does this interaction look like? What does our day-to-day, how do we interact with the plants? How do we interact with each other? How do we do that? Like, what does that look and feel like?
Yeah, well, I think the first step is to be curious about, a plant, for example, or another person. But I also do think that I mean, I really conceive my artistic approach as a way to make the voices I collect visible. So it's like, I really design my artworks as platforms to claim my commitments, but also invite all women to reclaim their stories. So, and it's like stories, intimate stories are like a fuel, the fuel of my art, you know, it is what nourishes it. So I'm not saying that if we all listen for 2 hours to somebody's stories for every day, we're gonna all be artists. That's not it. But I just think that it can be something very that would generate some kind of creativity or some kind of interesting vision of the world we live in. So yeah, I don't know if I actually answered your question, but let's say yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's my my performance. Yeah, because I'm an interdisciplinary artist, so I don't work with only one medium. My creative process works that way. I first feel that I have a message to convey regarding like something, like some experience I have or had that I confront to other women's experiences, similar experiences. And then afterwards, I feel like I have something to share more broadly. And then I choose the best medium to, you know, channel that, to disseminate my message, actually. So for this one, it was the performance because this project called Sois belle et tais-toi. So I guess in the US it would be, it's not be pretty and shut up, which is a literal translation, but I think you have sit still and be pretty or something like that. Yeah, that's an expression that as a little girl I was told about many times, and that of course I'm not the only one. So it's like really like, if you're a woman, you just have to be pretty and shut up, you know. So it's a project about beauty standards and how the beauty standards make us stick into, you know, fix into one box, stick into one box, and how they imprison us into stereotypes, into fake identities as well. So and also prevent us to express our, you know, own and true self. So why I wanted to walk this matter and message through performance was because I wanted to physically feel the audience and to share this message by touching physically the audience. So it was before COVID. And what happens during this performance is first I am laying down on this mirror foil, and I have this how do you call that, like stripes here on my mouth that is covered with lipstick. And then I draw the shape of my body with a lipstick, And then once I did that, I stand up, and what you can see on the mirror foil is a body print, and it really reminds us about the the crime scene drawings with charcoal. But here it's like a body print with a lipstick. So for me, it really represents violences against women, specifically. So then what I do is that I take my lipstick and I go through the audience and I pick 10 women in the audience, and I take their hand, and on their palm I draw the sign of imprisonment. So it's like 5 bars, so 4 bars like that, and then 1 here. And when I did that, I go back to my mirror and I draw the same sign on my palm. And then here is the tricky part of the performance. I assume that the women will do the same gesture than me. So what I do is that I show my palm, then I raise my hand, and then I close my fist like that, like a very protesting gesture. And then, well, I did this performance maybe 5 times, and all the time it works. So yeah. But honestly, I didn't know how the audience would react, actually. And then the fact that we collectively
I think we have a picture here of you raising her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's this one. The fact that we collectively allow ourselves to free ourselves from the beauty standards allow me to take off this plaster and to express myself. And I think that that's something that I couldn't really I couldn't engage the audience in the same way or with the same impact if it wasn't a performance, actually.
What do you feel it does? Like, do you feel like it frees you in some way, or what is that like? What is the element that you're because you're talking about like taking off this? What do you feel as the impact upon like those people that do this with you? Is there like an intended aspect or like internal thing that you're working with within the audience?
Well, I think that the fact that it's a collective gestures is really a big part of this because when you're alone and you decide, okay, I don't care about like the society gaze on me, and I'm just gonna be myself, and that's all. And then you go out from your house and you're in the street, and then you just go back telling yourself, oh no, I can't, I'm just alone doing that. Everybody is just taking care of their appearance, and I'm the only one, being myself. So that can be tough, so, but if you decide, let's say, in a group of 10 people to do that, and you just go out together in the street and you're just being yourself, that's easier, So I think that's the collective gesture is, very powerful in this performance. And also the fact that I come to the audience and then I pick some women. They don't know that. I mean, nobody's assuming that I will just come to them, touch take their hand, draw something on their palms, and then that there will be part of the performance, you know. So here, first, I'm the only performer, but then really quickly, we are 11 performers, you know. So that's very strong, because finally, like, all, like, these women are just telling themselves, okay, what will I mean, okay, I'm part of it. We're all in this together. Like, what should I do? And then it's just like, just protest for yourself, you know. And yeah, so I think that the fact that it's very engaging in a physical way. You know, I mean, you have to imagine 11 women in a room raising their fist together. You know, it's very powerful. So you can feel the tension and yeah, there is something very big happening, and you can very feel it. It's very emotional, very affective, very emancipatory. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, at the end of this kind of group ritual, it seems like, have you listened to any of their stories, or have their stories or perspectives shifted at all, or is that not really the point?
For the performance, it's not really the point. The point is really to make every woman feel that we are all in this together, and that we are supporting each other, and that we are telling each other, you're good enough and you're fine. We are fine with you being yourself. So just, you know, be yourself, and that's fine. And yeah, that for this performance, that the way I engage women is more about protesting for themselves, less than collecting their stories.
So like, it's interesting to me, the aspects of like listening, and then the group ritual, and have you heard over time, because you've been collecting these stories, you've been doing all these things with different people, have you found anyone maybe moved, because it sounds like you're working with people with severe trauma, have you found any abilities to work with people through some of this experienced trauma? Or is that not really the point? Is it just to express the trauma itself to the larger society and say, here's trauma? Or like, what's the, I guess, are you looking for some sort of internal change or external change?
Well, I am looking for first an internal change, and I do think that it will lead to an external change, of course. Yeah. And actually, this performance led to the actual visual series that I'm working with, because during the performance was the first time I used those two materials, so the mirror foil and the lipstick, and I really enjoyed working with these materials. And what is very interesting is that actually those two materials don't fix with each other. It's not really like, they don't really like each other, you know. So you have to be very, I mean, smart and ingenious to make them being happy together, if I can say. So that was very challenging to fix the lipstick on the mirror foil, and I had to actually use fine art varnishes, different kind of varnishes, to fix the lipstick on the surface of the mirror foil. And it's really interesting because as a self-taught artist, I really like to play with the codes of fine arts while approaching my own mediums. So here for this series, this visual art series, my canvas is the mirror and my painting is the lipstick. And by using the lipstick and the mirror in my art, I transform tools of oppression into tools of expression, you know. So yeah, these two materials represent, you know, in my own perception, the diktats of the standards of beauty imposed on women, and I divert them to express a personal and therefore political message. Also, as everyday objects, they respond to my desire to create an intimacy between the work of art and the spectator. So yeah, again, I think I went too far, but in my
no, never.
Again, but yeah, well, actually, I answered your question about. I really do think that internal change will lead to external change. That's for sure.
Do you have any I don't know, what are some experiences with internal change that that you'd like to maybe share with the audience here, that you've worked through something yourself, or you've seen others have some internal change or revelation, and as you said, it starts with the self, so maybe you have like a personal story that you'd like to share.
Well, I think that I will go back to this Mon Premier Harcèlement, my first harassment project, because I really remember the first time I showed it. So it was like, 2 weeks before the Me Too movement. Like the audience who came, like a lot of people told me, oh my God, I didn't know it was something that women experienced. So like at such a young age, and that every kind of woman experienced it, and that was so common and so often, you know, like I really experienced the a revelation of a lot of people from the audience to the fact that harassment was an everyday experience for women. So I think that is something that is really rewarding for me as a feminist artist, is that I don't want to I want to change the mind of people who are not already think like sharing the same values as mine, you know, as me, I mean. So I really want to reach the people who are not already aware, you know. So
interesting. So it's kind of like an awareness of this external reality to them. Like if they're not aware of it, and then they're just like, they see it and they're like, oh, this is something that happens in the world.
Yeah, it's just like showing the reality in which we as women live, you know. So it's like this. It's the same for this Mon Premier Harcèlement project or this new series that I just showed. But yeah, it's just showing women's reality, you know, showing how we live and how do we deal with that, you know, with that everyday life, with harassment, with inequalities, with our invisibility, and so yeah, it's really about that, about showing and making people aware of that, and so that they can just, by being aware, they can question the world they live in and realize that it's not the same world,
Interesting. Could you explain that last part about it not being the same world?
Yeah, I think that, we think that we are part of the same history and that we are part of the same world. But even if you just think of in the same city, or let's say even the same neighborhood or the same street, two people experiencing like the same commute, let's say, their experience and their perception of this experience will be totally different regarding their gender or their color, if there are people with disabilities or transsexuals, or that's gonna be totally different. So even like if you're like a bit like old people, they don't experience the street the same as younger people. Let's just think about how a woman or a man with a little child in the street is behaving, or what is he or she thinking of. It's really, really different from what like you or me are as valid person, young person in the street would just react or think about. So and how do we feel? Are we afraid? Are we feeling safe? Are we feeling are we feeling that we are we feeling legitimized to be here? Yeah, is this something that some people don't ask? Some people don't ask these kind of questions to themselves, So I really want them to, question that, like, you feel safe in the streets. Okay, how's that, Because like it's very, very rare,
Yeah, it's a very interesting point, is like how do we feel in various situations. And it's interesting, the idea of like the that feeling arising within ourselves, even to to first be aware of like how ourselves are feeling, let alone another person.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, identifying our feelings, our emotions. It's something that, again, we are not really used to. Well, I don't know if that's very different from here. But we are not really used to, as humans, speak about our emotions, and how do we feel and share these kind of emotions. So we are not used to hear about somebody else's emotions, So sharing emotions is something very deep and very powerful as well, but it can be also dangerous. So that's something very, very deep and very interesting. So yeah, just the fact that questioning ourselves on how do we feel doing that or this is already like a step, and then a step to finally question how like this other person in the street could feel, you know.
Yeah, I mean that seems like from my work, and that I can only say from my own experience, it takes a lot of work to understand when a feeling, emotion, something arises in the self, let alone to constantly be aware of another and how another person, a singular individual versus a whole group, is feeling at a time. But how to even be aware of that group if one cannot be aware of themselves.
Yeah, and that was very interesting for me to also organize group sessions during this project about the first memory of being harassed, because as I said, I was organizing one-to-one interviews for collecting stories, intimate stories, but also during the first exhibition, I also organized some group sessions, like like freedom of speech sessions, let's say, and then and I invited maybe like 10 women to, you know, just join a shared session and to speak for themselves and share stories. And it was as well very powerful. It was totally different than the interviews, the one-to-one interviews, but it was also very interesting to see how, because it was very sharing, so it was not it was like totally different. The process was different because as an enlightened witness, as a listener during the interviews, I was just, you know, saying nothing, just listening. And during the group sessions, everybody was sharing their own experiences. And then, yeah, of course, at some point they interacted and, you know, kind of maybe giving some advices or showing support. And then, yeah, it was also like very interesting to see how the group, how the fact that we realize that we have that in common, that our unique and singular stories can be shared and are at some point similar, is also very powerful, and helps you to enrich your vision of, like, you know, the world you live in, and you are part of a community in a way.
Yeah, it's interesting, like the individual facilitation versus the group facilitation as different entities, and how you're maybe able to draw out different aspects from those different things. And so thank you for sharing your experiences. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah, I mean, I like to share my experiences because it's a lot about sharing other women voices and stories, you know, so that's why.
Cool. Thank you. So before we go, where can everybody find you?
So you can find me on Instagram. I am sharing not a lot, but I'm sharing regularly my projects, but also my approach, my questions, how I am questioning my work, and how I am developing my creative processes, and, you know, I'm just sharing my journeys also sometimes. And you can find me also I have a website, So it's just my name, clemencevazard.com. And then
Could you spell that, please? Could you spell your Instagram like slowly? Spell your Instagram and your website slowly. Okay.
So my Instagram is CLEMENCE_VZRD. And then my website, it's Clémence Vazard. So it's CLEMENCEVAZARD.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So this is Freedom Tapestry Project. I'm Aaron Jack. You can find me at Aaron Jack Line Art. So Freedom Tapestry Project, we're working with Samia and Ben. So LA, Damascus. And then we're in Paris today. I'm in Pittsburgh, the whole world team. So every Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. PST-ish. And then 5 p.m. GMT we're on, and I guess it's we started around 6 p.m. In Paris.
Exactly.
So I love Paris. Personally, I have wonderful memories. So thank you. Met wonderful people there, and so I've had wonderful stories, wonderful memories in Paris. So thank you for being here. Thank you for everybody watching. I really appreciate that. So again, I'm Aaron Jack Line Art. This is Freedom Tapestry Project. And why don't you share some words of inspiration for us all to leave us on a note of some wisdom and inspiration.
Yeah, I will just suggest everybody to reclaim their own words. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, everybody who joined us as well. Yeah. Have a wonderful day or night or whatever.
Happy Thanksgiving. And as we experience gratitude throughout the world. So thank you.
À bientôt. Bye bye.
Bye.